Java GUI programming is event-driven. In Java, GUI components allow users to interact with them, which generates events, actions that can be taken to respond to the events. Student activity 12.1. Download the show action event program, compile and run show action event here. So this is the show action event. In show action event we are using two buttons, button 1 and button 2. If we are pressing the button 1 and button 2, the action of the event will take place. So this is the diagram that represents the output prompt which express the button, what will happen if we are pressing the button 1, what will happen if we are pressing the button 2. It shows the action event of that particular button that we are pressing. Events and event source. Events, mouse clicks and keystrokes are by the operating system, such as a timer. Java has predefined classes to represent different kinds of events. Each kind of event is defined as a class. For example, action event defines events such as pressing a button. Window event defines events such as closing or opening a window. Source object of an event. The object in which an event is generated is called the source object. The two button objects are the source objects of the events that are generated when the buttons are pressed. To identify the source object of an event, we use the getSource function method in the event class. User actions, source objects and related events. User actions, click a button, source object is JButton. Generated event, action event. User action is press written on a text field, source object. JText field. Generated event, action event. Yes, sir. Select an item, J list selection event. Listener interfaces and event handlers. Once an event is generated, it needs to be listened by an object, the listener. The listener object receives information about these events and takes some actions to respond to these events, that is, to handle the events. The actions for handling the events are defined in the methods specified in the relevant listener interface. The listener objects class must implement the corresponding event listener interface. The listener object must register with the source object. Event and corresponding listener interfaces. Action event classes, action event, listener interface, action listener methods, action performed, that is action event. Window event, listener interface, window listener, listener methods, window closing, window event, window opened, window confined, window deconfined, window closed, window activated. These are all the listener method of a Windows listener. The event is the window event. And next one is the mouse event. It is a event class. And mouse listener is the listener interface. Mouse pressed, mouse released, mouse clicked, mouse exited, mouse entered. These are all the mouse event. Registering with source objects, implement event listener. For show action event, listener is this object. So action event implements action listener. Register this object as the listener for events generated by the two buttons. Button 1 dot add action listener of this, button 2 dot add action listener of this function. Student activity. It explores the effect of registering listener. Modify the show action event example by removing the button 1 dot add action listener of this, button 2 dot add action listener of this. Compile and run the program again and again. Now click on button 1 and button 2. Observe what happens and try to explain why it has been happened. Handling events. Implement the action performed method as specified in the action listener interface. Public void action performed action event and message dot set text of e dot get action command. The button is pressed. Show action event. Private j button. Button 1 is equal to new button of button 1. Private j button. Button 2 is equal to new j button of button 2. Private j label. Message is equal to new label function. It uses the default layout manager. It places button 1 at north, button 2 at south and the label message in the center. Get the content pan of the frame. Container is equal to get content pan. Add buttons to the particular frame. Container dot add button 1 comma border layout dot north. Container dot add button 2 comma border layout dot south. Container dot add message border layout dot center. Show action event. This object is registered with the two buttons to listen to events generated by these two buttons. Register this object as the listener for events that are generated by the two buttons. Button 1 dot add action listener of this, button 2 dot add action listener of this. The class this object, that is it show action event, it implements action listener. Public class show action event extends Java frame which implements action listener. So action event implements the method in action listener, the action performed method. It implements the action performed method as specified in the action listener interface and provide public void action performed of action event of E. So action event implements the method in action listener, that is the action performed method. It implements the action performed method as specified in the action listener interface. Public void action performed of action event E. Message dot set text of e dot get action command is pressed. Student activities 12.3. Write a Java program that displays a frame. In the frame there is a one button labeled red and another button labeled blue. When the red button is clicked, the background of the frame is changed to red. When the blue button is clicked, the background color of the frame is changed to green. So if this is my calculator menu, number 1, number 2 result. So we can able to perform a addition operation, subtraction operation, multiple operation and division operation over here. So based on this we can able to write a Java program which implements the simple calculator to produce a GUI shown in the version 1. So the total summary is we can able to understand the concept of event, event source and event classes. We know how to register listener objects with source objects and to implement listener interfaces, understand how an event is handled, can be able to write simple Java event driven GUI applications.